Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for coming to watch me again. Today I actually kind of really want to talk about quite a controversial topic, which is suicide. Now a lot of people have their opinions. There's a lot of I guess debates around it, whether it is a selfish act or if it's not. I guess for me, because I've been there, I want to kind of share my experience. I was someone who was suicidal, and I did try to commit suicide. Thankfully, I was lucky enough that my mom had a sixth sense at that time, even though she didn't actually know I was, but basically kind of walked in the room on me when I was going to do it. And yes, I am very, very thankful that she did that. I wish, in that moment in time I never even got to that point, and I would never go there again. However, I can understand people there or who have done it, because I know what that place is like. It is a really hard thing, I think, when I do hear people say it's a selfish act. How can people do that, leave all their loved ones behind, people who care about them, love them. How can they be so selfish? They've left all this destruct and destroy and emotions behind, and their whole life as well ahead of them, or whatever age they may be. They didn't think of anybody else but themselves. I think for me, I do understand that point, and I would be devastated if I lost someone to it as well. I'm sure there's a lot of you who have lost somebody to it, and there's probably a lot of you who have been in that spot, or maybe even tried it yourself as well. For people who have never kind of been there, I guess it is a really hard thing to understand unless you have been in that spot or learned about it a little bit more. So I guess, everyone's story is different, but that's kind of when I wanted to share my experience, to give you maybe a little bit of insight into what it was like in the mind of someone who was suicidal and who did want to commit suicide and leave. And given the chance, I definitely would have at that time. So I mean, when I was kind of in that spot, for me, you were in this black hole. It consumed you. There is no thoughts of what it would be like for other people, because depression consumes you. And for me, it was kind of like, didn't matter, I guess the friends that I did have, to me, they couldn't stop what I was going through my head. They couldn't stop the pain. They couldn't stop the hurt, and the feeling of not wanting to be here, and it wasn't worth being here. And, my family, I mean, of course I loved them, and I did think about them, but in all honesty, you actually think they're better off with you gone. So it's a really hard concept for people to get around, but you think they're better off only because all you see is you being unhappy here. You're miserable. You're alone. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be around people. You want to isolate yourself. You can't deal with the everything that's going on in your head, and the feeling of feeling numb, and a black hole that's taking over you. So I guess that is, a huge kind of thing that consumes people. And in that time, there is no thoughts of, what will happen with my loved ones and things. There isn't that there, and I mean, if it was there, that's people, why they don't do it, or why they aren't suicidal. I guess it's a really hard spot to be in, but you lose control of everything. Depression takes over your life. It takes over every little bit of happiness that you've ever kind of felt. And there is no reason to kind of explain how it does that. It could be a chemical, or, I'm sure there's many kind of things on that, but it didn't really matter at that time how much people tried to make me laugh or talk to me. At the end of the day, you're left with your own thoughts, and you live with them. You live with yourself day in, day out. And if you can't be comfortable with that, or love who you are, or even you as a person, that is a lot of reasons why people don't want to be here. As I said, of course, there's other reasons why people do all sorts of it. But when it comes to kind of depression, that is usually that feeling. I was hopeless. I hated myself. There was nothing for me to feel proud of or achieved. So to me, I actually believed if I go, I'd be more in peace, and I would be happy. I'd finally feel just peace, freedom, and be happy, and that's kind of what I was after. So I guess, you know, it is a really hard subject, and a lot of people struggle with it. And, you know, of course, you know, the kind of controversial subject to it as well as, you know, well, those who, you know, got caught to doing it and stopped or didn't end up doing it, you know, of course they regret it now. They're so glad that they didn't. You know, imagine if they had done it in that moment. I guess what you've got to realize is in that moment, that is what they wanted. They can't see what you want to try to explain, you think. So I mean, yes, you can definitely help people who are in that state. It is possible. It is not an overnight fix, though. I was suicidal for a long time after. So even though, you know, I didn't do it that night, you know, I was placed in, because I was going to do it again if I was left alone or, you know, had any alone time, I was placed in one of the mental institutions in Auckland for overnight to watch me. My mum obviously was there as well, but after that they basically wouldn't let me leave that facility until I had 100 different things in place. I had all sorts of different counsellors at school at that time. You know, and again, a mixture. I had anxiety and all sorts, so I was only going 3 half days a week. You know, I had outside, 2 different kinds of outside counsellors. So one was Marinoto, which is quite a common one for mental illnesses. I also had a kind of a private counsellor that I saw. I had to write down lots of mindfulness techniques and things I would use. I had to, there was a lot of things in place before they would actually let me go. And I have to admit it the feelings and thoughts of it took a very, very long time to go, but you know, I had a lot of support around me and a lot of things to do to be able to stop those kind of thoughts, or at least put them at bay for a point at time, and had to kind of really explore the reasons as to why I didn't want to be there. And of course, you know, my mum figuring it out, she was a lot more alert, so there wasn't really times where I could be, I guess, by myself for a certain amount of time, and also there was no sharp objects or anything like that around me as well. Where I'm kind of going with it all is, it's forever gonna be a controversial kind of topic to bring up, but, you know, I guess it's trying to understand where that person is, and it's a really sad and unfortunate spot to be in. You can see blaze there, and it's a really hard time, and people can't see what they want to do with their life. They need a lot of guidance and a lot of support there. And I guess what I'm saying is, if you do know that someone is going through it, please just listen or understand it. If you are concerned about it, do seek help, even if it is pretend, or a cry for help, or even if they weren't actually suicidal but you thought that they might be. I would say it's better safe than sorry, and really seeking that help, or always being there and watching them. As I said, you're not gonna, you know, unfortunately in the day, if they really truly do want to do it, even after all the help that they've been given and everything, they will, but obviously if you can at an earlier stage, give them all that help and support, and a lot of things to make them actually have to look and understand that kind of black hole that consumes you. There definitely is a chance. Take me for example. I was very, very set on it, but of course there were things that kind of triggered that tiny bit of hope that was still in me, and that's what all that counseling is for, is just bringing that tiny bit out, even if it was a 0.5 or 1%. Bringing that little bit out is what they did, and you know, seeing my mum hurt and everything from after it, so it brought it out, and they slowly work on that with you, and you end up getting a little bit more hope and a little bit more, I guess, strive to want to be here and live in this kind of world as well, and do better. So for me, it was wanting to get better, more so to make my family proud, but also myself, and I wanted to be able to do this one day, be able to actually share my story to people going through it, or know people have gone through it, and even if I could help one person or relate to one person, that's kind of what I wanted to do, and that was, to me, my journey of meaning for kind of being here. So hopefully I can do that. Hopefully I give you a little bit more insight into it, even if it did or didn't make sense still. But I guess for any of you that are having those thoughts, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who are there and have been there. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It sounds cheesy, a lot of people say it, but there is. You can get help, and there's lots of different ways, and there's different methods of it as well. You don't, I understand you're not going to talk to your friends or your family and things like that, but even if there's one person you could, or even if you wrote it down in a letter, or to anyone and just spoke out, or even a hint, or yourself, just try to write your ideas down and wonder why you're feeling like that, or just any kind of signal to cry out, and you've got that tiny bit of hope there, do hold on to it, because it will be a long journey, years, as you know, from the age of 13, but you will come out of it, and you will find your reason that you want to be here, whatever that is, and be grateful for it, and do what you can for that reason as well. So thank you again for listening. It was a bit more of a deep conversation, I guess, and a lot more into it, but I do appreciate you for actually watching this and listening to it, and I hope that it does resonate with some people, and you maybe understand it a little bit more as well. So do, if you enjoy these and want to see more different kinds of ones, promise they won't be all serious and down, subscribe, also follow my socials, share it along, like it. The more that this can go, especially to younger people, at the ages of 13s and 14s, the better, because it happens at any age, but that is the kind of a prime age, and that's kind of who I really hope I can talk to or be able to help, and show them that there is someone who is being in the exact spot they're in as well. Thanks.